Hello and welcome to your astrological vibrations for Saturday, May 18th, 2019 by Gaia Blooming. I'm Mimi and our energy mantra for today is I value aligned transformational action. And we have a full moon in Scorpio today. That full moon will be at 2:11 p.m. Pacific time. That is the peak of it, that you definitely have probably already been feeling it and will continue to feel it. Full moon in Scorpio has full transformational vibrations. This is the Wesak moon, which means there's deep spiritual connotations that are going on. The Wesak moon is allegedly the moon under which Buddha became enlightened. And so there is that energy of enlightenment that's in the air. But there's a few things that pop into my mind. One is a post. I wish I could remember who said it, but basically she was like, I remember it was a she was like, Buddha, you've had your enlightenment time and now it's time to go home to your wife. That's one of the things that comes to mind. And the other thing that comes to mind actually is this card, which is Zorba the Buddha, which means to be fully enlightened while we are on this earth realm. It means not denying the physical, not denying the body, finding that balance. And I think we all struggle with that balance. A lot of us can fall into that one side of like, okay, all focused on reality, all focused on what's going on in this earth zone. And some of us can fall on the other side of things, like so focused on spirituality, just focused on what's happening in the spiritual zone. And we're all being asked to work in our balance. There's stuff in the world that we need to take action, aligned, transformational action, value aligned, transformational action on. And there's a spiritual side to these things as well that needs to be honored and valued and understood through this process, because there's deep spiritual work that is going on at this time. So you'll have to find where we are in the scheme of things. How are you being called into this earthly energy, into reality? How are you being called to understand from this spiritual perspective? How can you come into balance? There's several cards in here that represent that balance. And I think this card is very important, the friendliness card. Everything that's going on right now is like, kiss, kiss from the universe. There's purpose behind what's going on in regard on a social level. There's purpose behind it, even if you don't agree with it. And I think that's part of this transformational full moon energy. Before the moon reaches its full transformational peak, its full opposition with the sun, we have the moon connecting to both Saturn and Pluto. It also connects to that south node and north node energy. Interesting, connecting to the north node energy. North node in Cancer. One of the keywords, themes of Cancer energy, is the theme of mother. So there's a lot about the yin that's up right now. There's a lot around mother energy that's up right now. We are all being called to nurture that energy at this time, to honor that energy at this time. In fact, I pulled these cards, and then I wish I had my deck. Where is it? Right after that, it's at the bottom of the deck. This card, the mother, the Empress, flipped over. And was right there. So I was like, I have my cards, but now as I'm saying this, this energy is very prevalent. So it's interesting as the moon, this transformational full moon energy connects in. How are you being called to honor the mother energy within yourself? Okay, just look at that. I'm not going to tell you what you need to think or do, but how are you being called to honor that? We then have the moon, the full transformational moon energy, connecting to Saturn and Pluto. Saturn and Pluto and the South Node moving through Capricorn. It is changing society. Society is undergoing huge changes. Government rules are undergoing huge changes at this time. We need to look at the rules within ourselves. We have to look at the values we hold within ourselves. We have to look at those moralistic energies. We have to look at how we approach society. Are you empowered? Are you honoring who you are, or are you falling into a different category? This moon, especially as it connects to that Pluto energy, is reminding you of standing in that ultimate place of empowerment. I love what I asked Joe. I was like, what do you feel with this full moon energy? It's like, listen to what's calling and surrender to it. Listen to what's calling you in regards to your power, your personal power, and stand in that energy. Walk that talk, talk your walk. Whatever that means for you. That's part of that Saturn energy as well. What is your soul calling at this time? And how can you nurture that? How can you transform and show up in and through that energy? It's very, very powerful. Speaking of walking your talk and talking your walk, before the full moon reaches its peak, it is also connecting to Mercury in this opposition. So Mercury in Taurus. So there may be a little push and pull in regards to communication. We're trying to find that balance. We need to come into balance. We need to be willing to speak. We also need to be willing to listen. Part of this is because there can be a lot on both sides. Whatever I'm talking about, all kinds of things that don't want to listen to the other side. We don't get anywhere by that. We have to realize that we are all here on earth working together. We have to realize that on some level, our souls are also all working together, even if we have opposing viewpoints. And we don't need to kill over opposing viewpoints. We need to find common ground. So just keep that as part of your consciousness in the background of things as things move along. Also, before we reach the peak of the full moon, we also have, this is huge, Venus, representing the yin, conjunct Uranus. So, obviously, there is a lot up in the world right now around the feminine, around the yin energy. This is at 3 degrees, which means there is deep potential for expansion. 3 degrees, there's also some deep spiritual connotation that's happening. Uranus brings change. Uranus brings shift. Uranus can bring those triggers. And I think the yin overall is again, whatever side you're on, it's deeply triggered at this time about what's going on. Be aware of that in your own personal body. How is your yin being triggered? How is your personal yin energy? Whether you identify as masculine or feminine or wherever on the spectrum that you identify, we all have yin somewhere within us. How is your yin being triggered? How is your yin being called to expand and show up even more in and through this energy? It's interesting because Venus and Uranus meet at this 3 degrees, and then they both shift to 4. And 4 is that revolution, evolution degree. There is revolution afoot, and it's due to this expansion that is actually happening. You have to realize, even as it may feel like suppression, there is major expansion that is at play. And it's expanding us because we have to get out of complacency. We have to get out of complacency in regards to society and the roads that we've been traveling down. So this is a powerful thing, and it's going to be powerful depending on how you show up and value your personal alignment, your personal transformational energy, your personal action, your personal talk, how you are being called to show up in and through all this. All right, so we then reach that full moon, like I said, 2:11 p.m. Pacific time, full moon in Scorpio. It brings that transformation energy, and that is at the heart of the cards that I have. But I want to remind you, through this transformation, the universe is like, I know what I'm doing. Kiss, kiss. Like, it is okay. Find your balance, find your harmony, and then keep taking that aligned action moment by moment. The Sabian symbols are very interesting. It's so interesting because I read these at the beginning of the month to my patron groups, and now, like, what has happened since then is so interesting. All right, so for where the sun is in Taurus, reminding us of values, reminding us to take action. 27 degrees, that's 9 energy. Take action on that which you value. An old Indian woman selling the artifacts of her tribe to pass her by. We cannot forget the cultural past. Like, we cannot forget our ancestors and all this. We need to remember these energies. We need to rely on these energies as we take these actions. It's very important, and it's important to value this energy, okay? So there's that. Then, 27 degrees, Scorpio, and I read it as the degree. This is how I do it. Most people don't, but this is how I do it. A military band marches noisily on through the city streets, and the keynote is the aggressive glorification of cultural values. It could even be the aggressive gratification of government values. You know, it's definitely we're being bombarded right now by that energy. And yet, what if that's what it is, like this marching band? And if we can rely on our roots, if we can rely on that strength, if we can rely on this deeper wisdom that is inherent within us, you know, our ancestral energy, those roots, the deepest parts of ourselves, that Scorpio, it goes so much deeper than what is happening right now. We have such deep wells, we have such deep power within us that we need to rely on rather than getting caught up in the parade. And so you need to remember that and take your personal, aligned, transformational action. Now, that can sound like a big thing, but really, it doesn't have to be big. If we each make changes that align with ourselves in our life, it makes such a big impact on a larger basis. And so just cultivate that awareness for this and cultivate your baby steps, your moment-to-moment steps. If you try to look too big, it's going to seem like you can't do enough. But if you take it down to the root, if you take it to yourself, you've got this. And that's part of what this full moon energy reminds us of. Take some time, dig in. What is your personal, societal, and spiritual calling? What is your personal, societal, and spiritual balance in and through this? How are you being asked to transform? What are you being asked to let go of at this time? Where are you being asked to trust the universe as well? Where are you being asked to trust the universe in surrendering? And where are you being asked to trust the universe in regards to taking that action? These are all things to look at in and through. I think one of the biggest things with the Scorpio energy is reminding there's like those three energies with Scorpio. There is the scorpion that lashes out. There is the eagle, which sees from a higher perspective and then still comes in for the kill. And then there's the phoenix that realizes all the power is within itself and all it needs to do is transform. And then voila, true power is embodied. Remember that with this moon. How can you do this work on this level? You will see the repercussions outside of yourself. Repercussions, or it's not necessarily the best word. What's the best word? The results? I don't know. You will see changes. You will see transformation outside yourself. But come in here. Come into this power to make those changes. We then have the moon shifting into Sagittarius. Gosh. Hopefully Sagittarius will give us a little bit of a higher perspective. We will still be in that full moon energy, but we do need to see things from that higher perspective because there's so much more going on that we don't see at this time. And it's just important to be able to hold that energy. So I think that's long enough. Take a second. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful for being able to tune into another perspective because sometimes life on this level can seem very daunting. There are times I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I give up. So I am there with you at times, you know, if you're feeling that. Whew. Besides that, you can always book a reading with me. Email me, mimiclark@gmail.com for that. And the better it gets, the better it gets. There is more than enough love in the world for you, and you do have the power. I promise you that. Keep remembering that. Namaste.